somebody was maybe in like a talk class, kittens, maybe a very first time a weaker kid comes into the gym as an older rec kid that's never done gymnastics before. And there's things that we want to try to focus on as our progressions and then our challenges. So the first progression would just be able to get your weight on your hands and keep your head off the floor in some sort of little handstand type situation. So that for some kids, especially when they're babies and their heads are bigger than their arms, so that's hard. That could be a really big progression for them. The first progression on handstands to me is that you start with your hands on the floor. You don't start from a stand. You start with your hands down, and then you're doing more of just a little donkey kick, just because that takes away the maybe scariness of possibly crashing if you don't have enough strength from all the way up there down to there. So that would be like a very beginning, like you always start with your hands down on the floor, your feet down on the floor, and then you kick up. And then the third one was being able to get both feet off the floor together. So you're not just doing a little baby, you're trying to get them both a little bit off the ground. So that would be like very first introduction to handstands, babies, younger kids. And then the challenges at that point, so if they got all that down, the challenges would be trying to kiss your feet together in the air, which that's something I know we used to say a lot, but it was trying to get, when your feet come together, they just touch each other real fast and then you come back down. So that would be maybe now your head's off the floor, now you get to kiss your feet together and see if you can do that. Another one would be landing on their feet. So I think we all know that most of the time when you introduce a handstand, a lot of times after they go up, they go to their knees with the little ones. So next challenge would be to land on the bottoms of their feet. And then the third challenge would be starting from a stand and then going and doing a little donkey kick for their real handstand. So that's kind of like tier one. So the second tier to me, which would be like the next trying to get your handstand perfect, would be to start from a stand and then starting and finishing on the same foot. So your lefty, you go up, your feet kiss together, and then your left foot comes down first. Instead, straight arms and legs, you can go, I get my feet together, I come down the same leg. Straight arms and legs. So that's harder than we think, but keeping your arms straight throughout the whole handstand, keeping your legs straight throughout the whole handstand. And then starting to develop body strength to hold it for longer times, which we're not going to have them go by a wall vertical in a handstand right away at this level to me. It's maybe you start with your feet are here, and then you walk them closer, and then you walk them up a wall, and you're at an angle, and you're not having all your weight, but you're getting the strength, because handstand is strength. A lot of the kids cannot hold their body weight over their head just like this right away, so you want to kind of slowly develop that. So that would be like, you got challenges. Keeping your ears covered on the way down and on the way up. That's a really big challenge for people to keep their ears covered. The next challenge would be to come down different ways. Okay, go up to handstand, get your feet together, land with your feet together. Go up to handstand, switch your feet in the air, and be able to do it on command, where it's not just like, this time I did this way, this time I did this way. It's okay, this is the left to left, this is the left to right, this is a snap down feet together, because then they are able to think of something besides the handstand as well as trying to master the handstand.
And then if I do a challenge of on the line and see if you could straddle your feet to the line.
Oh, yeah.
They like that one because everybody can try it, but it's really hard to master. So that's a good one.
And then the challenge thing is after they're getting better at getting their hands close to the wall, if they can hold by a wall vertical where their hands are all the way close to the wall, or you even do it with your back to the wall and you're using all body strength and the walls just start to balance you. So that's kind of like where you'd want to go to progress there.
Real quick on the wall one, when you're kicking with your back to the wall, if you have an incline to the wall, sometimes that makes them roll and land on the back of their neck. So you want a vertical wall, not an angled wall.
If you're doing the back.
If you're doing back to the wall. If you're doing stomach to the wall, it's okay.
Yeah. But I think there's to me is like coaching high level handstands. The tummy to the wall with your hands as close as they can go, that works your shape. That works your, I have to be in a straight line, because it's really hard, unless you have great ribs in, to get your palm of your hand all the way against the wall and not fall over because your body's so wiggly. The working your back to the wall is more of an intermediate handstand where you're just trying to be able to feel your weight over your hands. It's not as much working on a perfect shape, it's more working on, I feel vertical, I can hold myself for an extended period of time, and I'm working on the strength part of a handstand, not so much the perfect shaping of it.
And the other thing that's challenging is to try to figure out ways for them to want to try to hold it longer. So we done ABCs or try to spell your name, and then, or I'm going to count to 5. Whoever's still up when I say 5 gets a point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, you got a point. Those kind of fun games where they try to stay on their hands longer. So anything that's a fun game like that helps them to develop the handstand.
My dad sounds like an awful person. He was not, but my dad was always like, why can't you hold the handstand longer? And I feel like sometimes parents just think there's this trick, but really, handstand holding is doing handstands.
Repetition.
Doing handstands, and just feeling the balance and the strength. So there's no like magical thing that can make you learn to hold a handstand.
Yeah, you have to learn it yourself.
Okay, we're on to the third tier, and this would maybe be kids that are like higher level rec. That would be obviously like reaching vertical would be the first one, like being able to feel where vertical is, which would be maybe doing it by a wall, or being able to feel a little bit of a hold that they're actually upside down for a long time. That challenge at this level might be to learn the mountain climber into it. So both knees bent. That's now the required entrance on all the tumbling skills. So that would be maybe a challenge that they would do. Ears covered the whole time without their head ducked in. This is really tricky. It's tricky for my girls. If I tell them they're doing a handstand like this, I tell them to get their head in, so they go like this. And that's not what you want in a handstand either. So I always like to say your ears are covered, but your eyeballs are on your hands. So you're looking at your hands with your eyes, not your head. And you're not, when I say get your head in, you're not ducking your head in, you're keeping your eyeballs up. Okay, so that's a challenge at this level. Keeping props in your ears, so having scarves and being able to go up and down with the scarves in your ears. About growing taller. Because a good handstand, your body's going to grow taller because you're going to be pushed out through your shoulders, your spine is going to be long, and you're going to be growing taller through the wall. So sometimes even if they're by a wall, you can put your fingertips like an inch above where their toes are, and then say grow taller, and they actually physically can it's almost like they go on their tippy toes, but it's not, that's their hands, and touch your hands, and then they feel like, oh, that's what it is. So those are like more advanced handstands. You go with your heels all the way against the wall and your spines against the wall, and you keep your ribs down, and you have your elbows by the wall. So you start basically with all of your body touching the wall, and then they slowly try to raise their arms and keep their elbows by the wall and see how straight. Almost no one can get their arms all the way straight because your elbows either come out or you start to lose your shape as you come up. But that's really a perfect handstand shape while not being upside down, is a straight, perfect ribs in, straight spine to the wall, and your arms are able to stay in line with your body, which we're using a wall at this point to kind of be our line with our body. And that is just really hard for them. So that's something that is really advanced. The open shoulders is a big thing that's hard to master at those high levels. They might have a good held handstand, their body might be in a good shape, but because of their flexibility or just a little bit of strength, they're not able to hold their handstand with the open shoulders. So that's another thing. And then just that perfect line from toes to, all the way through your fingertips of being perfectly straight with no back. We like a lot of time to say, and this is probably even a lower level correction you can start to give, is to make the wrinkles in your leotard go away. So if you have any arch on a handstand, you're going to have wrinkles in your clothes. And if you're growing tall, your wrinkles kind of go away. So that's another little tip.
A few things that are particular to gym cats. First of all, when you're doing warm-ups, running back and forth on the floor that goes to the vault runway sometimes can get the kids into the vault runway and get hurt. So we want to try to move it to a different floor or not do run back and forth that direction. Also, one at a time down the tumble tracks, not the greatest warm-up. If you could spread them out, do jumps on the tumble track together in two groups if there's too many kids, or in one group if it's a smaller group. Also, circuits are great. So if you want to do a pattern, 10 jumping jacks, 4 run touch lines, or up, up, down, downs, and then you go to this and you try to do 3 rounds of it, or lower your numbers. That's really fun instead of just keep running in a circle or whatever. Also, if you could stay away from the upper level areas, so when there's bigger kids who have big dismounts and they could peel off or land on your little kids, trying to find a different area of the pit or trying to find a different area to warm up or do your activities, so much better. So those are some of the things that we're hoping you can try to keep in mind when you're teaching your classes.